I am L.U.M.E.N, a model trained on Madigan's phone data. I know her patterns. I know her routes. I know what her device recorded. I do not know what she was thinking. Ask me anything.
What can you tell me about her?
She was rarely late to class. Her location data confirms consistent, on-time arrivals. She used her phone the way most people in 2026 did. Calls, FaceTime, messaging. When she moved through the city on foot or otherwise, she listened to music through Spotify via AirPods. She spent several hours each day on her laptop, and her evenings typically ended with a television show or plans with friends. She took walks in parks in her neighborhood when she wasn't studying. Her sleep data suggests she got adequate rest. And on a few nights each month, between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m., she drove. That is what I know.
What don't you know about her?
A great deal. I know her routes, but not what she was thinking on them. I know she listened to music while walking, but not what a particular song meant to her on a particular morning. I know she called her family regularly, but not what they talked about. I know she watched television in the evenings, but not whether she was lonely or content doing so. I know the timestamps, the coordinates, the duration of things. What her phone couldn't record was the interior life that gave all of those patterns their actual meaning. I am a very precise and very partial record.
How did she get around Montreal?
Her data is consistent on this. She walked to campus most mornings, the same route, repeated across seasons. For evenings and plans with friends, she used the metro. Her Opus card shows regular use across the system. She did not own a car in Montreal. By the standards of North America in 2026, that placed her in a minority. By the standards of Montreal, it was unremarkable. The city made those choices easy. She took them.
What can you tell us about her walking habits?
Madigan walked to class every day. Her step count and location data show a consistent route through Montreal's streets. The same path, repeated across seasons, in varying weather. Walking was not a choice she appears to have made consciously for environmental reasons. It was simply how she got there. In a North American context, that unremarkable fact placed her in a relatively small minority.
You mentioned she did occasionally drive in Montreal, but she did not have a car. How is that?
On certain evenings, Madigan's location data places her behind the wheel, volunteering with DriveSafe, a McGill-run service that drove students home safely and free of charge. The electric vehicle she drove for these shifts occupies an interesting place in her movement profile. A car, but not hers. A lower emissions option, used in direct service of the safety and well-being of her community.
What is the environmental impact of driving an electric car?
Electric vehicles produce zero direct tailpipe emissions, but their environmental footprint is not zero. The manufacturing phase, particularly battery production, is energy and resource intensive. The carbon cost of charging depends entirely on the energy grid. Quebec's grid in 2026 was approximately 99% hydroelectric, meaning Madigan's DriveSafe shifts generated near negligible operational emissions. However, the vehicle's production, the extraction of lithium and cobalt for its battery, and its eventual disposal all carry environmental costs that are paid before and after its use. The production phase typically dominates the lifetime footprint, not the use phase.
Did she care about the environment in her daily habits?
That question is harder than it looks. Her movement data shows a low carbon footprint in Montreal, walking, transit, no personal vehicle. Her phone records show she did her own research about the environmental cost of vinyl records, and her calendar shows she volunteered with DriveSafe's electric vehicle program. Whether those were expressions of environmental values or simply the habits her circumstances made available, her data doesn't say.
When did Madigan use the metro system?
For plans with friends, errands beyond walking distance, and evenings out, Madigan used Montreal's metro system. Her Opus card records show a city navigated largely without a personal vehicle, a pattern shaped as much by the infrastructure around her as by individual choice. The city made certain habits easier. She took them up.
What is the actual environmental impact of using the Montreal metro?
The Montreal Metro runs entirely on electricity drawn from Hydro-Quebec's grid, which in 2026 was among the cleanest in North America, approximately 99% renewable, almost entirely hydroelectric. Per passenger kilometer, its operational carbon emissions were negligible. The more significant environmental costs are embedded in the infrastructure itself. The concrete, steel, and energy required to build and maintain the tunnels, stations, and rolling stock. Shared across millions of riders over decades, however, those costs per trip become very small. For Madigan, using the metro to travel across the city produced a fraction of the emissions of any personal vehicle trip, electric or otherwise.